Lee. Lee. We're going to call the meeting to order here in a minute. Thank you.
I will sit down.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming. We're going to call the meeting to order at 6:03 p.m. I'd like to introduce the members of the Budget Committee. We'll start down here with Elaine.
Environment Committee, Terry Hall.
Don Lacasse. Scott.
Karen Wilhoit.
I'm Bronson Parody, Director of Finance.
I am Peter Gagnon, Town Manager.
Mike Waddell, Selectman.
Judy LeBlanc, Selectman.
Bob Gargano, Selectman.
Perfect. So now we'll move right on. Just a couple rules for the public hearing tonight. Essentially, if you guys can just make sure you guys state your name clearly for our seemingly lone microphone. It's also helpful for our minute taker to know who is here and speaking. We'll allow everyone a chance to comment, and we'll try to limit it up to 2 minutes of comment. After the initial comment, we'll allow others a chance to comment. Generally, please be respectful to those presenting and to the fellow attendees. So no derogatory, foul, or profaning language. Don't speak over others, and allow those responding the opportunity to fully respond. We'll try to keep comments relevant to the topic, and we'll check for comment after each article that we are discussing. Okay, just for a quick little preview. So for the taxation portion of our budget, our estimated net appropriation, so this is the portion expenses minus any revenues that will be raised through taxes, is expected to be $4,826,477. That is a rough, and that is a slight typo, should be 13,000, not 3,000. Increase, which is 0.28%. Given that inflation or CPI is 2.7% for 2025, that means with our 0.28% increase, that's roughly a 2.42% decrease by not keeping up with inflation. I know everyone worked very hard through this budget process, trying to keep, the burden that we are putting on to the rate and taxpayers as low as we could, and we felt that we've done a great job between, town staff, the select board, and the budget committee. So the warrant articles that we're reviewing are the monetary articles. So it starts with Article 8, which is for the land acquisition. Okay, so starting with Article 8, that article reads, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $157,750 for the purpose of acquiring, I'm just going to summarize, 27 acres for the acquisition of land to be added to the town forest. And we have currently secured 137,000 and change from grants and other donations for the project. And we will be encumbering 10,000 from the town's building and purchase and repair capital reserve fund, and 10,000 from the rec revolving fund, which is from the AVH rec monies that AVH donates to us annually for the purpose of recreation. So not our rec director's usual rec revolving fund annual budget. To meet any of our acquisition costs, there is no tax rate impact. I know the board is fully in favor of this. Is there any comments, questions, concerns about Article 8? Okay, not seeing any at the moment. We'll move right along. Okay, so the next three are related to the water, sewer, and library. So Article 9 is the sewer department budget. Sewer is looking to raise and appropriate $656,036 for their operating budget. This amount is to be raised by user fees, so there's no tax impact. Article 10 is for the water budgets, which is $618,625, again through user fees, so there's no tax impact. And then Article 11 is the Gorham Library's 2026 budget of $174,129, which is raised and appropriated through taxation with a tax rate impact estimated at 34 cents per thousand. All these were recommended by the board 3-0. Are there any questions on Articles 9, 10, or 11 for water, sewer, or library? Okay. No. Good. Okay. Not hearing any. We'll move right along. Okay. So now we are at Article 12, which is the town's operating budget. We are looking at an operating budget of $5,538,962. There is offsetting revenues currently budgeted in at $1,757,959, meaning our net operating budget will be roughly $3,781,003. Just going through it, general government is $1,290,601. Public safety is $2,308,904. Highways, streets, and bridges is $1,085,860. Municipal solid waste and recycling is $355,569. Airport is $100. Health purposes is $1,700. Welfare is $49,575. Parks and Recreation is $219,745. Patriot purposes is $7,428. Conservation Commission is $500, and long-term debt is $218,980, which gets us that $5,538,962. As I noted, our revenues are revised in the fall with the Department of Revenue Administration, so that number is usually a bit lower because we don't know our rooms and meals tax amount right now. Usually that's what raises it come fall when the state lets us know what we're getting. Any questions on Article 12, the town's operating budget? And we did give out a little side sheet that kind of goes through it in a little bit more specifics by department.
One quick comment for you, Bronson. What did we put in for a number? Was it 150,000 for meals and rooms?
Historically, it had been 150,000 just to be conservative because we never know what the state would give us. But this year, we raised it to 200,000 because the last 3 years the state has given us roughly 225, 250, and then 267 this year.
So we could expect that this number could at least be $25,000 to $50,000 less, depending on.
Yeah, the revenues could be roughly 25 to 50,000 higher. If there are no other questions in the moment, we will move right along. Okay, Article 13. That is to raise $10,000 for our annual fireworks with the 4th of July committee. That has a tax rate impact of 2 cents. That was recommended by the board 3-0. And Article 14, which is our annual sidewalk and asphalt repaving and curbing. That has a tax rate impact of 16 cents. This 80,000 is for the more minor projects in town. Think like Union Street last year, not Cascade Flats. This was supported by the board 3-0.
Can we back up for just 1 second?
Sure can.
All right, so Article 13.
Oh.
What is the difference, or why do we have patriotic purposes in Article 13?
So our patriotic purposes in our general operating budget is for our town's, police or other supplies related to the 4th of July and its subsequent events, whereas Article 13 is specifically a warrant article for the fireworks.
So I guess my question for the patriotic purposes, Bronson, is, it was my understanding that through our conversations, it was 3,500. Where, so did I miss something?
It had been 3,500 roughly last year, and then this year we were looking at that roughly 7,000, and I know we had talked about, okay, is there a way to get reimbursement for that? The 3,500 is roughly for the actual wages, but there's also supplies and other stuff tied in. It's not a ton.
I guess I mean, I knew we were looking at 3,500 for the police, to cover that weekend, but, that was just, it was $4,000 more than I had recalled.
Yeah, so the 2025 budget was 3,978, so roughly a $3,450 increase. Part of it is that this year we had a budget for NHRS into that line that we hadn't before, partly because our new system requires us to have that in there for that benefit. But otherwise, we budgeted in for our own internal staff, and then also for external agencies to help provide security, which that went up $1,800. So that's really where the bulk of it came from, was from having a budget now for interest in this budget, plus $1,800 more for personnel from outside of our own staff. But thank you, those are good questions. Yes,
Article 13, how much do we usually budget?
10,000. It's been 10,000 every year.
And what is so special about this year? Anybody know? Very good. This is a big year, a big celebration. Shouldn't the town do a little bit more? I mean, this is one of the only towns with parades, fireworks, carnivals. I would hope that we might want to keep in, 1 cent on the tax rate to maybe go 15 or something. I just throw it out there. This is gonna be a big year, guys. Come on. This is Gorham. Let's be patriotic. Oh, I'm Roger Blood, by the way.
Thanks, Raj. Would the board or budget committee like to add anything? Because I know this was a point of discussion in a lot of meetings for both of you.
So, Bronson, my understanding, that you've been in contact with Nathan Corrigan, who is kind of the linchpin of this entire thing. And I would hope, but I was certainly led to believe that he was asked if this number should be increased. So what did he say when he was asked?
The 10,000 this year is fine, but he was very clear, like everything else, things are going up. Maybe because it's the 250th everywhere in the country, getting somebody to do fireworks on the 4th is gotten very expensive. So 10,000 covers not even half of what it's gonna be down there. So down the road, there could be increases in this just to cover the fireworks. There are other income streams that are used, they sell the book. The Miller Amusements also, they lease and we get a cut of some of those. But it's something Mr. Corrigan was very clear that this 10,000 won't be enough down the road. And I don't know if the town, like other communities, you can get less expensive fireworks if you do it the week after, or the week before, but we're going. So the 4th of July is actually 4th of July. So I don't see us doing that.
Yeah. So 10,000, that's gonna be the regular 15, 20 minutes like we usually have. I mean, we used to be half an hour, we used to go up there, wow. Now it's time to cut back. You know what I'm saying? Let's do a wow year, do another 10 minutes or something. I mean,
So the fireworks go through here, partly on the 4th of July committee for Jeff as well, but fireworks are 25,000 this year, I think is what, so we're actually paying 25,000, but the 4th of July committee using money that they had left over. Plus they got some petition warrant articles out to other towns and to Gorham. I don't think that the length of the show is gonna increase, I just think the cost of everything might increase.
But it won't decrease. It won't be a.
but.
So, and if I may, Scott Newton, Budget Committee, and Roger, I agree, this is our 250th year. for this country, and it's a great, it's a great celebration. However, I think we probably should have been preparing for this maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and, to help with the 4th of July committee. We're kind of, under the gun right now. This is the last ditch, so maybe this should have been started 2 or 3 years ago. So this is what we have. Like you said, it's $25,000, if I heard Phil correctly, roughly. So, maybe we should have prepared for this for a couple of years ago and helped, the 4th of July committee. So this is pretty much what we feel is acceptable to keep the
Do
tax.
you think if anybody comes in, and gives the 4th of July committee $5,000, that would increase the length of the fireworks?
You'd have to, I can't answer that. You'd have to.
And they already signed a contract for this year, not to say that it couldn't be added, but, I don't.
I mean, they're gonna be here, they get more money, I'm sure they can spend more fireworks. I don't know, but I would think so. I mean,
I think there's also, and correct me if I'm wrong, and if I'm misspeaking, Phil, please tell me so, but I think we've also gone to budget, the budget committee spoke to Nathan, and we made some suggestions and some recommendations. This is an event that's, people come from all over, we'll say Coas County for sake of argument, our surrounding communities. I think they have reached out to some of the surrounding communities, and I think they've also reached out to some of the businesses that they might not have normally reached out to try and raise some of that money to maybe give us a better show. It's roughly about 18 minutes long, if I understand Nathan right. So there were some efforts made. They, might have been too little too late, but there were some efforts made.
so Nathan is a person of contact?
That was our contact.
Yeah, because the 4th of July committee has
Okay.
its own separate
With the chair of
nonprofit.
4th of July.
Okay.
Sure. I understand what you're saying. We're looking to lower the taxes for people. My suggestion would be to maybe for Nathan to contact or Phil to contact the folks that are going to put the fireworks on to see what it would cost the town or committee to add another 10 minutes or 15 minutes to the program and bring it up on the at town meeting as an amendment to the $10,000.
Right, it's only February, I mean, we got fundraisers up to, so I'm saying it can
That
be,
way, it's possible.
we should, we really should tell you the truth.
Yes, I don't disagree with you, but we're not.
Oh, no. It's
We're
a tax.
not getting set off fireworks, we're gonna swap fireworks. From house people.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Okay. So we will move on if there's no questions about 14. Okay, so quick note, before we get into the scoop, I don't have them there. Okay, so before we get into the CRF related articles, just wanted to let you guys know that this year we're doing it a little differently, where we are preemptively having all the CRF appropriations and trust fund articles in their own separate single articles. So instead of has been on town meeting floor, voting to combine articles for whatever it is. Now, Article 15 is all the capital reserve funds. Article 16 is all the trust funds. So the next couple slides are on just capital reserves. The following slide after that will be on just the trust funds. Okay, so first part of Article 15, we're looking, and the board agreed with the work session recommendations from the budget committee to raise and appropriate $780,936 to our capital reserve funds for 2026. So that kind of outlines as follows. So the first six are $47,500 to the fire truck CRF, $225,000 to be added to the road resurfacing and reconstruction CRF, $8,000 to be added to the SCBA CRF, and that stands for self-contained breathing apparatus. $45,000 to be added to the ambulance capital reserve fund, $25,000 to be added to the police cruiser capital reserve fund, and then $18,818 to be added to the police equipment capital reserve fund, with $8,818 of that appropriation to come from fund balance from a 2025 grant reimbursement. So that $8,000 and change has no tax rate impact. Before I move on to the second half of Article 15, are there any questions on this first half? Sub-articles 1 through 6, we'll call them the fire truck, road resurfacing, SCBA, ambulance, police cruiser, police equipment.
So since the fireworks in Promenade Street, could I resurface before the fireworks?
You can certainly request, and we can
Okay.
talk with our DPW director and forward. Okay, so if there are no other questions on the first 6, and we can always come back here to the back 6. Okay, so sub-article 7, 13,000 be added to dispatch equipment. 52,818,000 be added to town building purchase and repair CRF. With those funds coming from fund balance related to a grant reimbursement, so there would be no tax rate impact. But if we don't have the available fund balance, we will not make that appropriation. Again, so there's no tax impact from sub-article 8. 225,000 to be added to the highway heavy equipment CRF. $33,500 to the sanitation and recycling capital reserve fund. 2,300 to be added to the Medallion Opera House CRF with funds to come from our unassigned fund balance, which is from rental receipts that we get throughout the year. So there's no tax rate impact from that. 70,000 to go into the assessing CRF, and then 15,000 to go into our information technology capital reserve fund. So all in total, all 13 sub-articles as approved and recommended by the Board of Selectmen, 3-0, would have a tax rate impact of $1.40. Any questions on this back 7 of articles and or all 6 of the prior ones that we talked about? Terry?
Just as a maybe side note, when we started looking at this, we cut $54,000 out of it. It was that much higher, so we've cut quite a bit out of it as we the Board of Selectmen before we did. So we're very close on this. Anything that they need, they're going to have to get it. So we did cut already out of this.
Oh,
That's a good point, Terry, because the budget committee did cut 50.
$54,500.
So that 54,000+ was adjusted, and they went through, and it was, surgical and thoughtful, which I appreciated. And the board saw that recommendation, and they also concurred. Thank you. So this is a combined budget committee and Board of Selectmen agree with this.
Any other questions relating to articles or sub-articles 1 through 13?
Dan, from number 2.
Number 2.
Could help you balance there, you're adding a lot, what are the plans for that?
So we have roughly 400 and I want to say 75,000 already earmarked for our Main Street pedestrian improvements project and our Route 2 Lancaster Road pedestrian improvement project. So really of the 656,000 that's currently in there as of the end of last year, only like 100 and my rough math, 200,000 roughly is actually available to be spent on major road projects. So that's why we're looking to put the 225 in there to help get that back up and available to use on any sort of major projects. The major project we did this year was Cascade Flats.
Cascade Flats, soup to nuts was a little bit over 300,000. And we're going to be doing a little bit of a cleanup beautification under our old contract. So that's kind of, it was a fairly major project that was scaled back. Originally, Cascade Flats ran everything from a $3+ million project, and it got a major improvement, but that's about as skinny as you can go, 300,000. So if this number gets drawn back, there won't be any we won't be able to do any major road work. So that was cut back from 250 to a 225 by the budget committee and agreed to by the board as well, with that intent to tighten our belts.
But great question, thank you. Okay, any other questions? Okay. Move along. So Article 16 is for our expendable trust funds. We're looking to raise $193,600. $7,000 to be added to the Cates Hill Landfill Expendable Trust Fund. $159,000 to be put into our river maintenance expendable trust fund, with all $159,000 to come from unassigned fund balance from FEMA and other grant reimbursements, so there's no tax rate impact. $20,000 to be added to our special insurance expendable trust fund, and $7,600 to be added to our longevity and severance expendable trust fund. So all in all, Article 16 has a 7 cent per thousand tax rate impact. Any question on Article 16?
Bronson.
Yeah.
Scott, if I may just ask, I know we've asked a couple of times, and we weren't really sure who to talk to about the Cates Hill landfill, the $7,000. Have we?
Yeah,
Have we got any
Oh,
further?
yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, so, talking with the city manager, we have Cates Hill and East Milan. The monitoring for Cates Hill, in Phil's words, were indefinite. When you have a landfill, you have monitoring, and that monitoring goes to the state. As an environmental attorney, I can tell you it's not forever, but it's beyond our lifetime typically, because you keep testing. And until things that come up like spring water and strawberries, you keep testing. So as long as you keep finding things, you keep going. Once you find that this is a clean site below detection limit, 3 or 4 quarters in a row, then you can talk to the regulatory agency and say, look, we've got a year or a year and a half of clean data. Let's do the full closeout and have it be done. But that is nowhere in sight. So it's going to go on for a while.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other questions on Article 16? Okay, hearing none, we'll move right along. Okay, so now we have, now we're moving into our petition warrant articles. So all these have been submitted by petition. They all got their at least 25 verified signatures. So Article 18 is our first one, to see if the town would raise and appropriate $14,000 for the purpose of supporting the residents of Gorham who require professional home care support as provided by Androscoggin Valley Home Care Services. That has a tax rate impact of 3 cents. And Article 19, to see if the town will raise and appropriate $6,745 for Tri-Handicap and their associated services to support Gorham residents, which has a tax rate impact of about $0.01. Any questions at this point for Articles 18 and 19? I know that we have representatives in attendance for.
Do we want to give the representatives a chance to address these?
If they would like, sorry, Article 18, Margot, would you like a chance to talk?
Hello, I'm Margo Sullivan. I'm the Executive Director of Baby Home Care Services. We provide elderly bath care, homemaking, and long-term care nursing for vulnerable, older, low-income individuals who want to live independently in their own homes. Services are possible because we apply for grants under Title III Older Americans Act and Title 20 Social Service Block Grant. These programs allow us to offer services at reduced, actually it's stipend only for Title 20 and donation only under Title 3. So it's very affordable for anybody who struggles, particularly older people. We're licensed with the state of New Hampshire, Health and Human Services. Last year we provided 1,862 visits to Gorham for a total of 3,467 hours. I can go into any more detail if anybody has questions.
Can you tell me how many residents that equated to?
Yeah, there were 37 residents. It doesn't always equate to that. It varies. Some residents get a few visits a week, and some of them are protracted. Others get only a few visits once a month.
Is this,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, is this money, is $14,000, is that specific to Gorham residents?
It is,
Is it spent in Gorham? Or do you?
No, it's spread across. What it did, we sent, and I hope the budget committee got copies of the breakdown of our expenses. I sent that with our letter. So what we do is we break down what we get the reimbursement from the state. And we, in fact, I can read that to you very quickly. To show you how the money offsets, in particular for Gorham. So the total cost, this is specific to Gorham, the total cost of services to Gorham was $109,608. And then by the time we factored in the travel, the cost of travel time, the cost of mileage reimbursement, and all of what we had, for what we collected for fees, all of it, we ended up with Gorham's allocation factoring in, and the agency still lost over $7,000. So, I don't know if I'm answering your question exactly the way you did.
You are.
Terry Oliver, do all the communities, this is Coas County, right?
Yes,
Okay, do all the communities in Coas County give you money every year?
not all of them. So, we have received money every year since I've been back with the agency for 5 years. We didn't start, rendering services to the county until 2019. I came back to the agency in 2022, and since then, every year, except for one in Lancaster, nobody would go to the Lancaster meeting, the Lancaster residents conferred. We received $10,000 from Northumberland, $5,500 from Whitefield, $14,000 from Lancaster, and $19,500 from Rural.
And those are the communities. So but there are communities that don't pay.
Yes.
They still get the
Dalton
service.
and Columbia, yeah.
They still get the service.
I mean, it's negligible. So you get Gorham has many more hours of service than.
Does the county itself contribute?
No.
Have you ever asked?
We have been going through times.
I think moving forward, it wouldn't be a bad idea. I'm sorry, my name is Bob Gargano. I think it would be a good idea to approach the county, being that all of these communities are within Coas County.
So you're saying in addition to the towns?
No. Deal directly with the county and let the county do some reimbursement. And that way there is equally shared throughout throughout Coas County with respective towns. But this seems like it's more of a county request as opposed to individual municipalities, especially, when you're trying to break out the averages for participation and what have you, and cost.
Not to be argumentative, but just specifically said, the lion's share of the services that we render are to the communities that we ask for reimbursement from. So, for example, we had a really hard time finding anybody to work in Holbrook for a couple of years. We don't go to town in Holbrook because of that. We go to where we do render the services, we do expend money for travel in particular. Travel to the town in Gorham, my God. Last year, we spent $16,000 just to send our staff for their travel time and their mileage reimbursement. That's your allocation didn't even cover that expense to us, and we do not get reimbursed for that in any way, shape, or form.
But without speaking to the county, they may give you a portion of this to, so the entire burden doesn't fall on the taxpayer of Gorham. If the county gives a percentage that will decrease what our obligation will potentially be.
Well, we could look into that for sure. I don't know if the county would be, to be honest, if they would cover.
But we don't know until you approach them.
Excuse me?
You won't know until you approach them and ask. Thank you.
Any other questions, please?
Thank you, Margot.
Thank you.
Okay, any question, or Janae, would you like a chance to talk on Article 19 first?
This year, we are asking $6,745 for, a lot of funds. Last year in 2025, we served over 372 individuals, 225 households, and we provided 9,562 services in the town of Gorham, which was equaling $449,192. Tri-County CAP is great for everybody. We have our Head Start programs. We have, our senior meals, senior centers, our free diaper program. We also have, resource, coordinators that are all throughout Colas County and Carroll and Gorham. As far as, we also have seen, weatherization, fuel and energy assistance programs, and also transportation. I can answer any questions if anybody has any. Yes, ma'am.
I do know that for the first time last year, Tri-County CAP reimbursed Gorham about $42,000
Yeah.
for,
Cold weather
cold
stuff.
weather
Yes, ma'am.
placement. Is that something we can count on in the future?
That I do not know, but I can find out for you, ma'am, and I can send the email.
Perfect.
Yes, ma'am. Any other questions? I have one. Yes, ma'am.
Could you tell me how many families or homes that TCAP helped for
Yes.
weatherization, just weatherization?
Yes, 225 households, ma'am.
So you did some sort of work on 225?
Yes, and 372 individuals, yes, ma'am.
Nice, thank you.
You're very welcome. Any other questions?
Just a quick question.
Yes.
Transportation is very, very important to the North Country.
Yes.
Is Tri-County CAP, looking forward, are you going to be able to expand, or are you going to be contracting or keeping the same, those transportation services?
We do have transportation in Grafton County and in Carroll County. So we're actually, trying to expand even further.
Yeah.
So we're just waiting. Any other questions?
If I may ask, just go along the same question we had for the previous lady, Margaret. And I didn't get your name, but.
Janae.
Janae, okay. Is this something that you go to the county to as well? Is this something that you can go to the county and ask for some funds to?
For municipality, for us, we go to all Carroll County, we ask Grafton County. Our, numbers never change. They won't change until 2020 when the census come out, but we do, so.
Thank you.
So basically what I'm seeing is the $6,745 that you're asking for is based on the services that you provide.
Yes.
Very small amount.
Yes, and everything that we ask for goes back into our programs to help individuals, households, and seniors. Any other questions?
Okay. Thank you, Janae.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we'll move on. Okay, so now we got Articles 20, 21, and 22. So the first one is Article 20, which is $6,000 for the purpose of supporting the ongoing public service of the Gorham Historical Society Museum and their work to protect and preserve the history of Gorham. $3,000 for the purpose of supporting Northern Human Services, the mental health center, and providing outpatient and emergency mental health services for Gorham. And $2,000 for supporting our local Special Olympics team, Androscoggin River athletes. So we'll start with Article 20. I see we have Ruben in attendance for the Historical Society. So Ruben, if you want to give a little background on this article and answer any questions that may come up for.
Sure. Some of you may know this, but the Historical Society was founded, I think, in 1978 or 79. I wasn't involved in those days, but I knew people like Tozer and others who were. On our Facebook page, I think it says how many years we're up to at this point. Started out as, like all historical societies, very tiny. They were focused on the depot. They did some initial work, really on the cheap, with volunteers and occasionally contractors to get the depot fixed up a bit. There was basically no paint on it. It needed a roof. They needed a lot of electrical upgrade, et cetera, just for the depot, which was built in 1907. The interior is pretty good, pretty much like the original, but the exterior was taking a beating from 1907 on. Other people got involved in those early days, and then they started collecting pieces of railroad equipment. The first one was a steam engine. It was slated from a scrap heap, but it was available either for free or low cost, and they brought it into town. It was a big rust bucket with asbestos blanket on the boiler, which God knows something. Tim Sappington had to wet down and take off and dispose of it, thanks to Brown Company, putting it somewhere. And that was the first piece of railroad equipment that they got. Over time, they added 6 more. Of the 7 pieces of railroad equipment over there, I think it's safe to say that 5 of them came here as scrap and were in very rough shape. 2 of them, the green boxcar, which right now looks rough because the paint's coming off, but it's solid. The Russell snowplow, which is across the street, was in good shape because it came from Portland, where the Grand Trunk or the CN was actually using it until they donated it to the Historical Society. All the other pieces came in very, very rough shape. So we have the depot and we have the railroad cars. As I mentioned to the group, there's a lot of needs for both the depot and the railroad cars. And many of the repairs are quite costly. We did an informal assessment of the depot maybe 10 years ago because we didn't have the money for a formal assessment with an outside architect. So Tim Sappington and I and some contractors looked at what we knew to be the obvious problems and came up with some estimates. And if I remember correctly, we were guessing maybe around 50,000 or so to get the depot fixed up. We have a drainage issue. We have the eaves, which are starting to go bad, and some of the repairs that were done with plywood, it doesn't hold up. And the paint's going bad again. The roof is pretty stable. So on the positive side, there is money for the grants, preservation groups, and from LSHIP, but you have to have a formal assessment. And we've never really had the money in recent decades to pay for the assessment, which was 5,000, now it's gone up to 8,000.
So Rick,
Last year,
I'm sorry, can I interrupt for just a second? So the $6,000 that you're asking for, what exactly is that going to?
let me just explain. So the assessment for the building went from 5,000 to 8. I didn't know that change had occurred. I donated personally $5,000 to get the formal assessment done because I was tired of not having the money and not getting it done. I said, if we're going to get that depot fixed up, we need to do a formal assessment. I'll pay for the damn thing. And we started talking with an architect from Bethlehem. And the hope was to try to do it in the fall. But that got pushed back a little bit, so we're going to do it next spring or summer.
So that's what the money is going to go towards the assessment?
So that's for the assessment. I'm paying for that. She was waiving the extra $3,000, which was generous on her part.
So you.
And then we'll have this one cost
Can I
estimate.
just ask a clarification? that $8,000, you donated $5,000 to that, so that assessment's already been
I
taken care of.
donated 5,000 to
Okay,
their
so
services.
that assessment has nothing to do with the $6,000 rescue, correct? That $8,000 has nothing to do with the $6,000 that you're asking for, right?
Well, I mean, if she had said we need 3,000 more, then we'd have to dig for that.
But you said she waived, so that's what I'm trying to get
Trying to get some donation. But luckily, she said she'd do it for 5. It's a relatively straightforward project compared to some buildings that are assessed. The railroad cars are a different story. Each of the cars may require, I'm just gonna give you a couple examples, not the whole set. The green box car, to do it right, I used to work in the body shop business, my dad owned the garage. We'd have to pressure wash that car, we'd have to sand the whole thing, and we'd have to use a primer, urethane primer and paint. And we got a quote of $14,000 from a guy who does this work out of Pennsylvania. He does work routinely for Conway Scenic River. We don't have $14,000. Whether he would do one side at a time or not, I don't know. We're talking with him. The diesel, we put about $20,000 plus between the DOT grant some years ago and some historical society money to try to get that started. And that was in really, really rough shape. It looks bad on the outside. It needs more outside work. The inside framing was all completed with the idea of it being a walk-in museum dedicated to the diesel railroad history. So those are just 2. The other cars might need $5,000 to $10,000 worth of work because the wooden box cars are all rotted. They look decent on the outside.
Ruben, Paul has a question for you.
Ruben, I think what everybody is asking is that, what is this, we know the problems that the Historical Society has. I think everybody's pretty much aware of those. The thing is that, I think what the question here is that, the $6,000, how much are you gonna use for the assessment and what are you gonna use the rest for? I think that's all.
None of that 6,000 would be used for the assessment because I donated 5,000, okay? Right now, beyond that money that I donated, we have roughly $2,000 in the account. That's gonna get us to next spring in early summer. And some of that's gonna be gone with monthly expenses.
So the $6,000 is going towards monthly
So the
expenses.
$6,000 would go towards operation and repair of the whole place. You know, we have to pay for insurance, which has gone up in cost. We need to get that back in place. We were quoted insurance costs that were astronomical.
Ruben, if I may ask you, now, when you met with the budget committee here, I don't have the date, but a couple of weeks ago, you stated that you had no insurance on
We
the.
didn't have insurance because, long story short, the 2 things happened. Our elderly treasurer didn't pay a bill quickly enough, and our insurance company in Lancaster cut it off. But I think the real issue was some of the other board members had called the insurance company about a mold issue in a file cabinet, which I had opened up and it was all full of black mold. And I said, this is not good. We gotta figure out how to deal with it. And the quick response was call the insurance company. They have insurance. And I said, don't do it because my brother works for insurance. And they're not gonna fund it. And they'll probably red flag it. And I think that's what happened. Then we got a quote, which doubled the price. We also, about the same time, had a discussion with the railroad because they were doing a lot of day traffic. And they were fearful of visitors to the museum walking out and getting run over. So they said, you need to expand your insurance to give us total indemnity. We asked a lawyer about that, we asked an insurance agent about that, and they said, forget it. That's not even sellable in New Hampshire.
Ruben, can I ask a question?
So we got stuck. So we need to get a basic policy back in place.
How long have you been without insurance?
Probably 4 or 5 years, because we haven't had the money.
Oh, boy.
We've had other expenses that we've had to take care of just to be open.
And you don't have the money to get insurance.
Like I said, we have $2,000 in the account beyond the money that I donated for the assessment. If the town votes to not fund us at all, then we're dead in the water. We'll just shut the doors down. We won't operate. We can't operate unless we take the assessment money and kill that idea and plow the $7,000 into operation
Go ahead, Paul.
for this year.
I think what everybody's asking Ruben, is, what's the possibility of getting the insurance that you need and how much would it cost?
We need to get another quote from the insurance company and not for the policy that the railroad wants. It's like astronomical and not possible.
Is there anyone else that has any more questions for Ruben? We need to move on to Article 21. Anyone have questions? Thank you.
Okay. So for Article 21, Northern Human Services.
Hello, I'm Amy Minier, I'm the Director of Behavioral Health at Northern Human Services. Most of you probably are aware, we've been around for quite a long time. We do most of the mental health and substance use treatment here in the community. At any given time, we're serving around 700 residents between Milan, Berlin, Gorham, Shelburne, Randolph. And at this point in time, we're serving around 100 residents in Gorham. When we closed out last fiscal year, we wrote off about $5,000 for clients in the Gorham area. So we're asking you guys for $3,000. We typically ask for $1 per resident. We did raise that by about maybe $300, depending on numbers at this point in time. Just for many people are without health insurance at this moment in time. Their co-pays have increased or their deductibles are higher at this point in time as well. If anybody has any other questions about what we do or any of that information, I'm here to answer all of that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so Article 22, Special Olympics.
I could answer any questions from that. The person with all the money figures had sent something in with the petition, but, and she couldn't be here tonight. We serve between 20 and 30 individuals with disabilities in a variety of sports where we do that in year-round. We have the state summer games that we attend at the University of New Hampshire, which is quite expensive. Transportation, get the athletes there, and because they start very early on the first day of competition, we have to be down the night before, so the university charges our team for housing. Years ago, when we first started Special Olympics, we had individuals or groups that would help pay the costs associated with running local Special Olympics. We used, White Mountain Distributors, for example, used to do an annual golf tournament. And back then, they would raise enough to cover the budget for the year. That's no longer the case. So we asked Gorham and Berlin also to help contribute to that, and we have done a lot of fundraisers to get the expenses that are needed. Yes.
Yes, thank you for your explanation. I think that we all agree that the Special Olympics is a worthy cause and a medical amount, and you do provide services to our Gorham residents.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so we'll move on. Okay, Article 23, to see if the town will raise and appropriate $3,000 for the purpose of marketing in our area for Androscoggin Valley Chamber of Commerce marketing plan, which is less than a penny tax rate impact. And then Article 24, to raise and appropriate $5,000 for the purpose of supporting the services of North Country Home Health and Hospice Agency for Gorham residents. Paula or Chamber of Commerce or someone in attendance? Okay, I guess not seeing. We'll open up to North Country Home Health and Hospice for yours.
Hi, I'm Nicole Gross from North Country Home Health and Hospice Agency. We're a nonprofit organization dedicated to delivering compassionate home health, hospice, and long-term care services throughout Coast and northern Grafton counties. Our mission is to improve lives by caring for patients and families as they navigate their healthcare journey at home. For many rural communities like ours, we are more than a healthcare provider, we can be a lifeline. In 2025, for the town of Gorham, we visited 89 patients, 1,920 times for home health, hospice, and long-term care. Our home health nurses help individuals heal and recover in the comfort of their own homes. Our hospice care focuses on comfort, dignity, and compassion, providing physical, emotional, and spiritual support for patients and their families during life's final chapter. And our long-term care services assist with daily activities, empowering individuals to maintain independence and age safely in familiar surroundings. The support from Gorham allows us to respond with flexibility and compassion where it's needed most, whether it's helping a patient remain at home, easing the burden on a caregiver, or giving our team the tools they need to provide exceptional care. So your support ensures that no one is left behind and that compassionate, high-quality care remains accessible for years to come.
Is there no questions? Thank you. Okay, so in summary, that little update, so I'll just move past it. So thank you everyone for attending tonight's meeting. Town meeting's business session will be on Tuesday, March 10th at 7 p.m. in the Gorham Middle High School Gymnasium. So thank you everyone for coming. We appreciate it.
Bronson?
Yeah.
I know that technically these three articles aren't up for being recommended by the budget committee and others, but just as a housekeeping thing, you have the article that could change the date of the town meeting for next year. I think that should be brought forward to everyone who's present here and why it's there. And then we have a change to our elderly exemption, which isn't a big number, but it is a money number.
Yes, thank you.
If you go through those three, I appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, Bronson's looking for that. I'll just make a quick point. Normally, the Gorham Community Learning Center would be here, and they traditionally, with around $10,000, they're not here because the town has helped them out, and they're a good example of a success story that has taken money and other grants and bundled things together. So this bundle of funding requests, I just wanted to point out that success, and I don't anticipate them in the future asking for that. So I just wanted to give them credit for jumping up. And another quick note, the Article 23, we are a member of the Chamber of Commerce, a proud member, a happy member, and we pay our dues. So this $3,000 is above and beyond our dues payment. And that won't affect our standing as a member of the Chamber. Thank you.
Okay, so the first article, thank you, Mike, for bringing it back up, is Article 5. That is to change the business session of town meeting. So historically, we've always had elections in the morning here. We come, you vote for your slate of officers, and then at night we go over to the high school, and then we vote on the rest of the warrant. Article 5 would change it, so we would still have the same, you come here, vote on your ballot during the day, but then the select board would then choose a date and time to have the official business session. Because as we've seen in some years, either there's a very high turnout, there are a lot of maybe officers or other things on the actual ballot that take a lot of time and effort by our great election workers to count, and so it delays when the business session starts. And so the idea is, hey, let's have this on, for example, the following Saturday, starting in, the morning sometime or early afternoons. That way we have plenty of time to really go through it and hopefully increase attendance versus starting at 7 or 8 o'clock on a Tuesday where people have, work the next day, kids at home. And so that is why this article is being brought up.
I can tell you from experience for election workers and ballot clerks, it is a very, very long day. And everybody is tired by the time the ballots have been counted and having to rush over to the town meeting is physically taxing.
And I would just add too, the selectmen, when we drafted this, they're thinking of the constituents and the folks who are frankly kind of getting tapped out at 8, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. And the idea is to have as much participation in, democracy. And having a meeting at noon or 1 or, the board's decision on a consistent basis would allow, babysitters to get set up, family to get set up. And we wouldn't be losing people throughout the night, or they're choosing between, my babysitter's leaving at 10, I have to leave, or just physically, I need to leave because, so I'm in that group.
Paul, you got a question?
Yeah, I just want to say this.
I'm the moderator, yes.
Paul Robitaille, on board. As anyone knows, there aren't many elections that I have served on or been part of for many, many years. I can understand all your feelings in a way you think this may be an advantage. But from a lot of the sessions I've attended, the thing I'm concerned about is that you say there's drop-offs 8, 9 o'clock, and there are. I agree with that. And serving on election boards, I am exhausted at ballot 9, 10 o'clock. But however, from what I've seen, what's happened in other towns when we start doing this, it ends up in confusion, because right now the tradition is second Tuesday of the night is the night that we have the town meeting. It's ingrained in people's thoughts, in people's minds. And what I'm afraid of is that if we open this up, we will see even more drop off depending upon the nights that you choose. And I am really concerned about that.
I think that we're not looking at choosing a night. We're looking at choosing a weekend day.
And that's what I believe is going to be the issue. Because once you start choosing a weekend day, all of a sudden, after the election on Tuesday, people say, oh, town meeting's Wednesday. Well, we got a hockey game, we got a basketball game, and then there's going to be less participation. One of the reasons I think about this may be happening is I'm looking at what happened in SB2 towns and other towns that have, I forget what the name is.
The business session.
Deliberative sessions. That's what I'm looking for. And they have seen drop-offs in their attendance at their town meetings for a number of years. So I'm concerned, and I just want to voice that. That's my opinion, and we'll see what happens.
To be honest, my concern is for the election workers, because I've been here with them, and you know them as well as I do. They are not young women or men, and they're here all day, and then to the town meeting at night.
I think you know that. I realize that completely with all of them. I've been
If
standing
we
right
had young
there.
election workers, I don't think it would be an issue.
So,
We do.
so could I make a point here? I asked that this be put on more. And, in just the past 10 years, 9 of them, this wouldn't have been necessary. But I'll tell you what, last year, it was necessary. I escorted the election workers into the hall. They were standing out in the crowd, waiting in line, and I found them. And we were lucky. Everyone worked their tail off that night. You were there, you worked your tail off too. But we still started an hour late. So now we're starting an hour late with 43 articles. Pretty daunting. And on top of that, there was a faction in town who exercised their legal right to have a ballot count on all the money articles. And they started down that route. Now, when we got past 9 o'clock, it wasn't just a few people leaving the room. There was a steady stream headed out the door. And when we got, I think it was to 11 o'clock, and we had taken a vote, and finally counted a ballot vote on one of the more important articles, and it went down 3-1 against what the balloteers wanted. I went to the microphone and suggested strongly that the people who had signed that slip come forward and renege on it. And they did. Because if they hadn't, we'd have been there till 2 o'clock in the morning. So I understand what you're saying, Paul. I can't disagree with it, but you just never know where you're gonna have one of these meetings. And I know of some towns that do this on Saturdays, and there really hasn't been an impact on them. They've gotten used to it. That's what they do. In Gorham, we've always done it this way, but I'll tell you what, last year stunk. And it's okay to try new things. The board, and right now we're following the town of Jackson, if you wonder where all this stuff came from. So Jackson's always run a good meeting. I've done work in Jackson back when there were still dinosaurs in the valley down there. And anyway, they do it this way, which oddly enough, back in 1986 when I started this game, is the way we used to do it. So it's kind of a throwback. But I would strongly encourage, Paul, and I would hope you would consider doing this. But this is why we put it on here. It's not for the low attendance meeting. It's for those meetings where there's something really important. You're gonna be at it a long time. You haven't got the time if you're starting at 8 o'clock at night.
My concern is the money is private thing. And the less participant we have, the more fragile it is. My concern is that I would like to have everyone show up and vote on all these articles. I think it's important, and I think that's what it is. It is my fear that we'll lose people, we'll lose more participation.
And I think,
Maybe I will be wrong, and if I am, good.
I think at this point, this is an article that should be debated on the floor at town meeting.
That's up to you.
It has to be on the official ballot though, so.
Yes, it's on the ballot.
But they're gonna vote for it or not. They're gonna vote or not.
They have to vote for it on the actual ballot, so not on town meeting floor.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
So this will be on a ballot.
Yeah, so when you're voting for the slate of officers, I believe it is, this will be one of those where you have to circle a yes or no.
Because I think to ease some of, and I understand completely where Paul's coming from, but, and as a, as a budget committee member, I understand, but as a taxpayer, I guess, and want to be part of the town meetings, would it be more beneficial if we had the first Saturday after the town meeting? So we had a cap on it. So it's kind of too late to put it in that now, in that verbiage, but I think that would ease people's minds a little bit, maybe. If we said, hey, if we're gonna change it off after Tuesday, it's gonna be the first Saturday after the town.
We were restricted. We would prefer that language. And as you know, there's SB2 towns and regular town meetings. The SB2 language does dictate the following Saturday. We wanted to use that, but our attorneys and the DRA and NHMA said, use the language that's in the statute. Do not, that is the way to have this be legal and clear. And the language is the Board of Selectmen at their discretion will choose it. I don't want to speak for the board, but I guess I am.
Go ahead, you're doing a good job so far.
Oh, thank you. The intention of this board is to have it be the following Saturday.
Okay, I think that just eases some of the people's, I think that eases the people's mind if they're listening to this and people get out and say that, that's the intention. I think that eases
I don't
everybody's.
think that the statute would allow it to go any further than a certain time. We couldn't have voting on a Tuesday and then the business meeting like 3 weeks later.
4th of July.
So voting has to be on Tuesday?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm not done yet, Mr. Carroll. Can't we deputize more people to help count ballots? It's just number of.
Good luck.
Yes.
I'd love to. Carol was there for years.
What's wrong
We
with
will
you?
help.
Oh, come.
I will, I can count.
Come to town hall, speak
Why
to
can't
city
you have
Karen. We'll get you signed up.
I'm serious. What's the matter about getting what?
What's your phone number?
What's the matter about?
I got you.
It's not, I'm just gonna tell you, and I'll say it, I can say that when I was the deputy town clerk here, doing it all in one day, I'm exhausted. It makes for a lot, and I get what you're saying, Paul. But even now, there are years where I don't come and vote, because you know what? I don't wanna be here until midnight. Because I go to work every day, and I work every day, like every other blue collar person, and I think it's a fantastic idea, and I thank you guys for even bringing it up. Why can't we do that? Why not just make it easier on our working people, and especially people that have little kids? It's exactly right. I couldn't imagine my son trying to bring his 3-year-old to a town meeting because he wanted to vote and being there until 10. I'm pretty sure you would all leave. It wouldn't be him.
I came here, and I wasn't gonna bring this up unless you, and you guys brought it up, so I spoke. And I'm voicing my concerns, because I am very concerned about participation. I think we've seen a lot of it come down. And I think, we need to increase as much as we can. However, I've stated my opinions, and I've stated the thoughts that I feel. You're gonna put it on the ballot. It is up to the people now to decide. And if they decide in the affirmative, I'll continue to do my jobs the best the way I can. But I wanted to state exactly what I thought.
And you did.
Yeah, so as far as I'm
Thank you for
concerned,
that.
the discussion is over.
All right.
Before we move on, I know Lee just had a.
Yeah, Lee Carroll, I had one comment on this. If this was known to be something that probably people should have a chance to discuss, it would have been nice if the selectmen had had a public hearing. Maybe
We
too
got
late
time
now.
for that. We have time for that. Of course, Lee, to be fair, isn't that what this is? So, but, no, we could also, post it and advertise it so that it could be discussed, at a selectmen's meeting. That's a good idea, and Pete, let's do that.
Sure.
I don't think you're gonna get a great crowd out.
No, I suspect not, but the reason I wanted to talk about tonight was, because really, most of the people that are always here at town meeting are here right now. And, so what better place to bring it up?
And then just really quick before we adjourn, Articles 6 and 7 are about updating the elderly and disabled exemptions. It was caught right beforehand that there was a typo in both. So Article 6, it should be 50,000, 100,000, or 100,000 and 200,000. I discussed that with Michelle. The board had approved that option at a prior meeting. And Article 7 should be 50,000. But the idea, and Michelle can always add on to it just real quick to correct me if I'm wrong, but is to just help out those in town. I don't know what's a better
We
way to say
adjusted it for inflation.
Thank you.
So we went back to originally, the intent was 100,000, and that basically covered most people who were in need from their property taxes. That was many years ago. And when we adjusted it for inflation, that's where we got these numbers. It wasn't roulette wheel. So we adjusted for inflation, and that's where we had a discussion about 175 or 200. 200 was the adjusted for inflation, so that would be the intent.
Okay. But that is it for our public hearing, so we will conclude that here at 7:17. As I said, our town meeting will be March 10th, the second Tuesday of March at 7 PM at Gorham Middle High School. So we will see you all there. Take a few minutes to start getting set up in the other room for the board and budget committee to make their recommendations.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.